Have you ever wondered if donkeys like soda? Today at this moment, I'm assuming you just did. How about this one? Have you ever noticed like pennies are rectangular? The technical answer to me, it has to do with how the fixed data particles are stored in rows, columns, a lot of mathematical stuff. Now, this is my favorite one. Using aliens, if they exist right now, are more or less advanced than us. That needs a little less funny, I know. But it's a question that I've had for a while. Okay, you can take a break from your questions, and instead, I just want you to think about walruses. Walruses are interesting animals. I mean, they're males that have webbed feet, tusks, and whiskers that look mostly on rocks and ice, but they're also aquatic. They're interesting. Interesting to look at, but more importantly, interesting to think about. I hope every chat told you in the past minute or so that made you think. That was the main difference to it. See, as humans, we have the ability that separates us from every other animal on the planet. Our ability to think with complexity and abstraction. The knowledge of whether a monkey likes spot glass or Coca-Cola doesn't really help me in any way. But the fact that our minds can process something like that, something that has nothing to do with survival or instinct, is truly incredible. However, the caveat of this ability is that, unfortunately, we have the choice whether or not to use it properly. And in truth, we don't think as much as we think we do, nor do we think as much as we should. If that statement made you wonder, what makes you qualified to say something like that? My answer would be my own experience of not questioning anything in my life. My beliefs, goals, routines, I just accepted them because they were there. And also my discussion with friends who, for example, couldn't give a single reason as to why they did or did not believe in God. It's easy to look at humans as a whole and revere our great accomplishments, but it's a bit more difficult to look at the average individual and us and question if we think at the same level as the ones who sent us to the moon, the ones who pioneer technology and other fields that help us every day. This is a dilemma that I call the sharpest tool paradox. It's the idea that despite having achieved so much as a whole, on the individual level, we don't think as much as the ones who led that achievement. And the ones who didn't lead that achievement are part of a disproportionately small minority of people who chose to stop and think and to question what had already existed. They're the ones who led humanity to exponentially grow. And yet, as that happened, independent thinking seems like stagnant. As I tried to find the cause of this dilemma, it's led me to the nature of human progress. For about 5,000 years, we used horses to travel. However, fast forward to just about 100 years ago, it's suddenly we're using cars. A completely human-made object that takes us from point A to point E. That's just amazing. How much the technological advancement exponentially grew over the past 2 centuries. And the article that Max Rosen published through Our World in Data talks about the same thing. While bringing up a good point that whatever we see as the highest advancement right now will look primitive to us in decades. Sorry, I was using my power to finish. And this highlights something that's pretty interesting about the human mind. As exponential growth seems to show in humanity as some technology, when we look at the common person, that independent thinking is nowhere to be seen. And earlier I mentioned that we have a choice whether or not to think with defense, which subsequently leads many people to go their whole lives without complex thinking because it's not really necessary to function in society. And there's also a fear that a lot of people have when it comes to complex thinking. You see, high-level thinking requires a lot of choices to be made in the mind, choices that then require the consideration of numerous factors. Eric Morgo from the Association of Psychological Science explains it as a natural alignment that our brains have to reduce the complexity of the decisions we make. And you know what? It's understandable. What does Bible fight for our survival of middle-class Americans leading a busy life? We can't think for everything with complexity. They're just not enough time. And besides, we still live our lives, right? Yeah, we do. But we live the most oppressive and how to do opinions that is undeniable. Curiosity. Now, I'm not sure if praise with you that I'm sure most of you would pepper. Curiosity killed the cat. You know what's funny? This phrase demonstrates the irony of humans dealing with the fear of curiosity. Why do I think that? Because I'm sure most of you live your lives thinking that was the full phrase, when it's not. Here's the full thing. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. Would you look at that? A mere curiosity stems from the phrase that highlighted the good of being curious. Curiosity, questioning, wondering, thinking. These are all gifts that were given to humanity by chance. Gifts that should be cherished. They're gifts that have given us a sense of fulfillment in our lives. A gift that has given us life beyond reproduction and survival. It truly saddens me we as a society of people who can't think to the best of their ability. As a society of people who don't even choose to do so. Those of you are kind of one thing. One thing that enables us to question, wonder, and think deeply about it, no matter how useful, or even if it's about whether movies like soda, we know the key to a future that maximizes our advancement. I'd like to end off with the phrase that I've thrown around a few times. We were born to inherit the stars. But then that leads me to ask one final question. What's the kind of inheritance if we never once thought to understand what it is? Nathan did it. Thank you.